The rain was coming down in sheets the night of my accident. I barely remember what happened. One moment, I was gripping the steering wheel, squinting through the downpour, the headlights of oncoming traffic blurring together. The next, there was a blinding impact, the sickening crunch of metal twisting, the sharp sting of something warm running down my face. Then, just blackness. I woke up to the sound of beeping monitors and the sterile scent of a hospital room. My body felt like it had been put through a shredder, bruised, broken, useless. The doctor told me I was lucky. That was funny. I didn't feel lucky. My left leg was shattered, 3 ribs cracked, and my head had taken a hit bad enough to keep me dazed for days. They said rehabilitation would take months. Jessica was there when I woke up, sitting beside the bed, her eyes red and swollen. "Oh my God, Michael," she whispered, gripping my hand like she actually cared. "I thought I lost you." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something about the way she said it felt off. Maybe it was the way her fingers trembled in mine, or the way she avoided my eyes when I winced in pain. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits, physical therapy, and painkillers that barely took the edge off. Jessica was there, but not really. At first, she stayed overnight, brought me food, held my hand when the doctors ran their tests. But as I started getting better, she started disappearing. She had excuses, work, errands, things to take care of at home. I told myself it made sense, that she couldn't put her life on hold just because I had almost lost mine. But something wasn't right. I could feel it. One night, when I called her, she didn't answer. Then another night. Then another. The excuses became weaker, the texts shorter, her voice on the phone more distant. I started wondering if I was imagining things, if my injuries had made me paranoid, turning my wife into some villain in my head. Then came the day Mr. Peterson, our elderly next-door neighbor, showed up at the hospital. He walked in hesitantly, his worn old Yankees cap clutched in his hands, shifting awkwardly in the doorway. "I didn't know if I should say anything," he started, eyes darting to the nurses passing by. "But, I thought you should know." "Know what?" My voice was hoarse, weak. The old man swallowed hard. "Jessica, I saw her. She's been having someone over. A man. At night. I caught them last week. In your house." I felt my body go cold. "You sure?" I asked, but I already knew the answer. Peterson nodded, looking uncomfortable. "I saw them through the kitchen window. They weren't exactly hiding it." He shook his head. "I wanted to tell you sooner, son, but you were in bad shape. Didn't think you needed more bad news." Bad news? This wasn't bad news. This was nuclear. Jessica had been cheating on me while I was in a goddamn hospital bed. Probably long before that, too. I forced myself to breathe, nodding at the old man. "Thanks for telling me." Peterson gave me a sad look, muttered something about people being cruel, and left. I sat there, staring at the wall, my hands trembling in my lap. I should have felt angry. I should have been ready to scream, throw something, call Jessica and demand answers. But I didn't. I just felt cold, detached, like something inside me had broken beyond repair. I needed proof. I needed to be smart about this. Jessica thought I was weak, helpless. She thought I'd never see it coming, but she was wrong. And she was going to pay. I played along. For the next 2 weeks, I smiled when Jessica visited, let her kiss my forehead, acted like the clueless, broken husband she thought I was. I pretended to believe her when she said work was keeping her busy. I nodded when she apologized for being distant. But inside, I was watching. I started small, checking the bank statements from my hospital bed, scrolling through charges that didn't make sense. Expensive dinners I hadn't been a part of. Hotel stays she never mentioned. Then I started tracking her phone. It was easy. Jessica wasn't the tech-savvy type. A quick install of a location-sharing app when she left her phone on my nightstand, and suddenly, I knew exactly where she went when she wasn't by my side. And she wasn't at work. She was at some apartment complex across town. Repeatedly. Always at night. Always for hours. I forced myself to wait. I couldn't confront her yet. Not without a plan. Not without enough proof to crush her completely. So, I waited until I was strong enough to leave the hospital. The day I was discharged, Jessica picked me up in her car, smiling like nothing was wrong. "I'm so glad you're finally coming home," she said sweetly. I glanced at her hands on the wheel, freshly manicured, ring still on her finger. The same hands that had been on another man. I swallowed my disgust. Me too. That night, I stayed up late, pretending to struggle with pain as I sat on the couch. Jessica kissed my forehead, said she was exhausted, and went to bed early. I waited. At exactly 11:47 p.m., I watched through the crack in the bedroom door as she grabbed her purse, slipped on her shoes, and snuck out. The moment the front door clicked shut, I moved. I grabbed my crutches, limped to my truck, and followed her. She drove fast, like someone with a purpose. I kept a distance, my heart pounding with each turn, each streetlight she passed. Finally, she pulled into that same apartment complex, and I watched her step into his arms. Tall, muscular, probably 10 years younger than me. He kissed her like he owned her, like she hadn't just been sleeping beside her husband hours earlier. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I had my proof. Now, it was time for my revenge. The next morning, Jessica acted like nothing happened. She made coffee, kissed me on the cheek, asked if I needed anything. I forced a smile. "No, babe. I'm good." I started putting my plan in motion that day. Step 1. Cut her off. I had handled most of our finances for years. Jessica had her own bank account, but she relied on our joint funds for the big stuff: bills, groceries, car payments. So, while she was out, I drained every last cent from our shared account into a private one under my name. Then I canceled her credit cards. Step 2. Destroy her reputation. Jessica wasn't just cheating. She was arrogant about it. She had left a digital trail without a second thought. Texts, emails, even pictures. I sent copies to her parents, her friends, even her boss. I made sure they knew exactly who she was. Step 3. The final blow. I wasn't going to just leave Jessica. That would be too easy. I was going to make her watch as everything fell apart. So I hired a lawyer. By the time Jessica got home that night, she walked into an empty house. I had taken my things, stripped our accounts, and left a single envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside, divorce papers, and the pictures of her with her boyfriend. I waited in my truck across the street, watching through the window as she picked up the papers. I saw the way her hands shook, the way her face twisted in horror, the way she screamed when she realized what I had done. It was over. For both of us. Because Jessica lost everything. And me? I lost the part of me that ever believed in love. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Please like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel.